You were in Clemson, boots on the ground last night. Of course, there's so much to discuss with what happened so far in week one. We'll bring you more as we talk about these Sunday and Monday games. We're going to talk Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech mainly today. Let's just get into it. Let's start Clemson LSU. Number 9 LSU beats number 4 Clemson 17-10. Give me your initial thoughts. You were there. You were in it. What did you think overall?
Yeah, great to see you, Kelly. Everything's great.
I'm
Everything's
here.
perfect.
I'm still pregnant, so I didn't go into labor.
That's good.
So that's good. I didn't go to the game because I'm not insane.
Well, you didn't miss much, No, it's so fascinating because if we would have done this podcast right after the game, probably would have been super emotional, probably would have been really upset. And there's still, now it's like lingering depression. It's not like anger, it's just like sad.
Sure.
And it's just like the constant, thing in the back of my head of Clemson used to win these games.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson is used to, or would, when I was playing and the great years after, win these games. And that was kind of the really big step that, as a program, Clemson took. And, 4 straight losses to the ACC or SEC, openers, which is maybe even more disappointing because you have all this time to prepare and to get ready. And, you just look at what the offenses have produced, specifically looking at Georgia, LSU, it's just, it's not good. It's just really, kind of weird things. And so, at the end of the day, I think it's really frustrating. Just that the offense looked as bad as it did. And really confusing, to be honest, just from an expectation standpoint and where you thought, the team could grow to, where the wide receivers would be, where the offense, I was pretty disappointed in the offensive line play.
Mm-hmm.
But really, kind of coming back to it, like I was unimpressed. Trying to think of the right word. I don't want to go too hard because, again, I think there were some good things that were done.
And you still, you still had a chance to win the game
on a final drive.
Lost by
7.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Uninspired, I think, is the right word of the play.
That's a good word.
I thought the play calling.
It's a good word.
And execution. I'm not all putting it on one or the other, but there could have been things that could have been done better. There could have been things that were executed better. So overall, offense was not good. Give credit where credit's due. I thought LSU played with their hair on fire.
Correct.
They had a plan. Those guys looked unbelievable, physical, not afraid, running downhill. Like the LSU defense, unbelievable. LSU offensive line, also big surprise to me, which some people maybe because I talked to Hester. He didn't think that they would be exceptional. They played out of their mind, and so did Nussmeier, getting the ball out quick. So did their offensive coordinator, having answers, when Clemson would show pressure, getting the ball out quick. So there's a bunch of different things that we can go into this thing. Overall, I think disappointment's the biggest issue. Clemson, just fine. We said it. Either team that loses this, everything's still in front of you. And you're going to be able to kind of write your own journey here, but it's frustrating. But this is, I think, is the most interesting thing, because this is now the second time at home against an SEC quarterback where maybe you thought the other completely outdueled Cade Klubnik and completely shut him down. Garrett Nussmeier threw for 230 yards. Cade Klubnik threw for 230 yards. It's weird. It's so weird. Garrett Nussmeier had 9 more completions. They threw the ball both 38 times. They threw it the exact same amount of yards. One had a touchdown, one had a pick. Garrett threw 9 more passes than Cade. And maybe that's telling because they got the ball out quick. They dinked and dumped it and let his wide receivers do his thing. And, I think there's, again, I take it to play calling and lack of execution on the offensive side of the ball. And it was frustrating. And the fact that the Clemson defense has allowed 17 points given up in back-to-back home games and somehow lost is super frustrating.
Even just the fact that Clemson's lost back-to-back home games is
not fun. First time. I think they said since the game coach was the interim, the game before and then the game after. That's crazy.
I saw that.
A long time.
There's so much here, Mac, and I think it's almost like the narrative's flipped. Everyone was saying LSU can't win an opener. Now it's like, can Clemson win an opener? And this game was at home. Like both Georgias were neutral site. Duke happened.
Yeah.
That was in Durham.
I forgot about Duke. That's right. I forgot about Duke. Duke was horrendous. It's horrendous.
Never forget. It was my son's first ever Clemson game, and he's never forgotten it since. But okay, so let's start with the offense, Mac, because that's the big question mark here. It's really baffling with all the discussions we had. With the last time we saw this offense, they looked really good against what we've been told was a great Texas defense.
Yep.
Now Texas had its own issues. The silver lining, if you're a Clemson fan, is you didn't have the worst weekend. It was either Alabama or Texas. And of course, there's more to come Sunday and Monday. But Mac, okay, here's my question. First of all, yes, Cade struggled. You had some great stats about how much he was pressured. I mean, it felt like he was running for his life. He was fighting for his life out there. And especially it hit me on that final drive where Cade made some throws. Like Clemson had every chance in the world to tie it up. That's what's crazy about what happened in this game. But it's 4th and 5 or whatever it is, and you just know on any of those downs, they're not running the ball. So these incredibly talented LSU linebackers, I mean, Harold Perkins, spying Cade Club, he was a monster. The Weeks brothers, like these linebackers, if you're sitting there and they're not handing it off,
Right.
that's one option that's completely done. So what do you make of that, Mac? To give Adam Randall 5 carries, he did have the really good touchdown with the second effort. Do they not believe in him? Did they just say, you know what, we're not getting enough push with the offensive line? Because if you're going to go through all of this to not go to the portal, because LSU hit on every portal guy they brought in.
Oh, yeah.
Like those corners were nasty. I mean, they hit it with the portal, and Clemson obviously didn't go after a running back. Do they not trust Adam Randall? Was it just terrible play calling? Like, what do you make of that? And how do you fix the run game? Because you need a run game. I mean,
well,
you need one.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me is more so the timing and what and when was called. Like 19 rushes, is
to 38
pretty
passes.
Close. Yeah, but that's pretty close to what I wanted from Clemson this year because of just who they have, right? I wanted more passes.
Matt, can we mention Antonio Williams literally goes out right away and you don't see him at all, who may be Clemson's best offensive player, so we'll just put that out there.
Brutal, really brutal, and changes the game plan. But you have guys, and I thought Tyler Brown stepped up and played really well as well. But yeah, that the split, I'm not as concerned with the split as I maybe giving Adam more carries, not giving it to other, guys in certain situations, but it was just the timing of it. Like, I don't necessarily like just running on 1st and 10. I'd rather get a chunk. If we get it to 2nd and 5, and then can we get something, and then it's 3rd and short, and we feel a little bit better. I don't like running. Yeah.
There were no manageable third downs.
Right. I don't like running on 3rd down, quarterback sweep to the boundary. It's dumb. And it's just stuff like I've seen before, and I know like it never has worked. And so why are you doing it?
Especially against these linebackers, that's not working.
It's silly. It's just silly. And the side to side, I don't know. There were times where I'm like, okay, this looks really good. There were other times where I'm just like, what is happening? What is happening? And I think, again, the aggressive nature of those guys, can you do some more screen game with your running back? Can you get them flying upfield and go right over their head? Can you get super tight, shallow crosses or kicking it out to your guys, which LSU did admirably. I mean, they were running crosses all night and hitting guys in full speed, full stride, and then just sitting them take off. And I don't know. It was super, kind of concerning from that standpoint. And listen, Cade was blitzed more than he ever has in his whole life. Like, LSU had a plan and they executed, and they wanted to hurry him. He was pressured. Of that 56%, he was pressured close to 40% of it. So that means they were getting home because they're overloading a side or guys are getting beat, whatever. And there was no response. There was no quick game. There was, at least Cade didn't get it to him. So whose fault is it? Is it Cade's fault? Is it your coordinator's fault? And that's something that, they'll figure out. But it's just, I don't know. It just didn't seem like there was adjustments. It was like, this is what we're going to do. And that's what they're doing. And it's, let's see if it works eventually. And, I think, again, I go back to the execution point, KG. And Dan Orlovsky did a really good tape on this one particular play. The 3rd down before the 4th down, game over. LSU showing it looks like a 2 safety look, cover 2, shell, whatever you want to call it. And so you don't get too much indication. But then right as the ball snapped, all 3 linebackers trigger in a hurry. They're bringing pressure. the safety to the left, which is where Cade is staring down and ultimately throws into double coverage, that safety rotates to almost
Mhm.
a too high look, double coverage look, not too high, single high look. And then the other guys on the right hand side are in man to man and they're off the ball. And so to me, I've never played quarterback, never called a play. Y'all know that. But as soon as I look and I see that safety going to the left, I'm not throwing it to the left. I'm going to the next thing. And I know where my guys are. I know where I'm protected and where I'm not.
Mhm.
And Tyler Brown and TJ Moore, I believe it was, are wide open and maybe score. And it's a whole different thing. And you're just
Having a whole
like,
different conversation.
why'd we rush into throwing to double coverage? And it was a bad ball. Like, why? But he's been rushed all night. I'm sure he was panicking, happy feet a little bit. You just expected more all the way around from a third year starter, senior, third year coordinator, been together throughout the whole time. And Nussmeier delivered. Like
He did.
it's fascinating to see. And he got turned on. Like the first half, there were some struggles, and the crowd was great. I will say that too. Like the crowd was loud. It might be like there wasn't maybe one of the turnovers where it like peaked and you're like, wow, that was super loud. But that was probably the loudest first half I've ever heard,
Wow.
consistently like rolling, really, really loud. And then of course, you get a little wear and tear and you just kind of get upset and frustrated, whatever. But it just, I don't know, KG. I thought Nuss in the second half turned it on. I thought they adjusted really well. And I think I mean, he put on a masterclass with motions, with showing Clemson defense eye candy, which we'll talk about more of the defense in a second. I have thoughts there too, and I'm sure you do. But that looked like what you would hope the Clemson offense would look like with this old of a guy, with a coordinator that has been there so long. And again, it just didn't. But at the end of the day, a lot of growth, a lot of talent. They'll figure it out. Hopefully, Antonio Williams will be fine. Hopefully, this offensive line will get better, and more together and execute better. Um, and you get tested. You get punched in the face. Everyone, myself included, been telling you how good you are, and you're 0-1. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of opportunity, big opportunity in 2 weeks in Atlanta, that just became a lot more interesting.
Talk about running the ball.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech knows what they wanna do.
Mhm.
I think a lot of great points, Mac, and I agree with you on everything. I think it just comes back, a lot of this, to the run game, whether you just abandoned it because of what you were seeing or you don't trust your running back. Maybe we'll see more Gideon Davidson as the weeks progress. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the type of game where Dabo's not gonna trust young guys, and it felt that way, because you couldn't afford a turnover. And I mean, Clemson did, besides the interception that Cade threw, Clemson did force turnovers. Like,
Yeah.
that was different. Here's what's different. You didn't lose this game like you've lost the other openers, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
Like we said, you had every chance to win on the final drive.
Mhm.
You weren't just shooting yourself in the foot in a
Right.
lot of ways with the turnovers. You obviously competed defensively. Like, the
Right.
defense, I thought, looked a lot better, and we'll get to that. It was just what we thought wasn't gonna be the issue, was the
Correct.
offense. And like you said, Nussmeier looked like he was in control,
Yeah.
and Cade looked like he was running for his life,
Yeah.
and that is a
Yeah.
huge difference.
And I think that's maybe it's so weird. Like, what's more frustrating,
Yeah, that the
something that you
defense
didn't
seems to
expect?
be
Yeah.
somewhat fixed, but then now
Yeah.
there's a new issue.
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, okay. I thought we were really good there, and then what the heck is going on? Um, but I'll say this too. There's times, and maybe Georgia last year, certainly, but there's times where you're just not better.
Mhm.
You're not better. And that's hard to hear for a fan base, for a team, whatever. But I just don't think they were better than LSU. And, there's some interesting things that happen. And you could point to, the pass interference that was a horrific call that led to 7 points. You could look at the other pass interference in the end zone that bumped them up from wherever to the 2 yard line, that who
Mhm.
knows what happens there. That again, I think that was a phantom call. Not
But
to
Mac
blame them on
but
those.
Mac, that was a catch, and that was a touchdown for LSU. As someone who was watching on TV and saw every angle,
That ball moved. I don't know. And I'll say
that was
this.
a
Let me tell
catch.
you this. When he threw it, first of all, unbelievable. I don't like how positive this is to
Yeah,
LA.
Nussmeier was putting the
It
ball
was
in a
it was a
bucket.
dot. It was
Yeah.
a like he
Yeah.
ball right there, and he crossed the plane. And when they
He
put it
broke
on
the
the one
plane, and
yard
he
line,
had control of it when he broke the
yeah,
plane.
yeah. Well, yeah, but you got to complete the
I
catch.
know,
But
but
I looked to everybody. I said, "Y'all, that's a touchdown." And then they review. LSU's freaking out. They review it, and then they show that angle, and the ball moves. I'm like, "Oh, that's not a catch. We're good. We're good." And then
see,
they missed the field goal. That was crazy. That was
What is
crazy.
a catch? What is a catch?
What is
No
a
one
catch?
knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody
I was
knows.
shocked when they overturned that, though, because that just doesn't seem like the kind of break Clemson gets
That's
in
true. That is
recent
very
years.
true. That is very
I
true.
was so shocked. Okay, let's get to the defense because we got to talk about Florida State.
Yeah, we'll
I
get there.
mean,
We'll get there,
geez,
Knowles. Come on. We'll get there.
goodness. Okay, the defense overall, a lot more aggressive, which was really exciting to see. I still felt like the D-line underperformed, and we can
Yes.
talk about that, Mac. Thought the
Yes.
linebackers were all over the place, which was
Mhm.
really fun to see. Like,
Yeah.
you hold LSU to 17. This LSU offense is going to torch some people this year.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the one guy that did kill you was Aaron Anderson. I mean, he
Yeah.
was really, really good.
Yeah.
But Nussmeier's a really good quarterback, and I thought this defense did enough to win the game for
Right.
Clemson.
No, I think that well, yeah. I mean, you hold somebody to 17
Yeah,
points, you're
you
doing
should win at home.
you hold somebody
Yeah.
to 246 yards passing, you probably feel pretty good about your chances. And two forced two turnovers, as you mentioned there. It was so fascinating to me, KG, because yet again, I thought one unit in particularly was going to make these big strides and be an absolute strength, and it wasn't. The
Yeah.
defensive line. I mean, I don't know if TJ Parker had a tackle. I
The
think he
one
had
time I
the
noticed TJ
TFL.
Parker was his really dirty hit on
Yeah,
Garrett Nussmeier.
yeah, yeah.
That
Oh,
was it.
the 15-yard penalty?
Yeah.
Oh,
When and
no.
then Nussmeier's limping. And I'm like, oh, TJ Parker's here.
Oh,
Sorry, that was
gosh.
mean,
I
but
I think he had a TFL, but other than that, you're right. Like, I
he
just
did not per the box score. But
okay, well, there you go. Must have been a tackle for no gain or something. But, yeah, and Peter Woods, there were flashes, but I
yeah,
don't know, and maybe that's not fair, at the end of the day to have these massive expectations because it is hard. Like, it's not like guys are having multiple sacks every game. I mean, you look at
sure.
historically, if you have 1 sack a game,
The
you're
one
probably
sack was Will Help.
yeah, right, which I thought was cool. But yeah, I just excited more about flip my computer off the desk here. I thought it was I expected more there, and what was concerning was still the gashing runs
Yeah.
and just how they happened because it seemed like every time we watched it, I'm sitting from like a behind angle and can kind of see everything develop. If LSU ran kind of like a gap run, it seemed like our backside defensive end would just over
Yes. The
pursue,
over
over pursue,
pursuit
and
was
bam, cut back lane,
serious.
wide open. And then it seemed like when they did outside zone, the strong side defensive end or whoever the play side defensive end would go inside and it's just running free. And I just was like, what is happening? Like, do they have our signals and they know when we're slanting and they're doing this? Which I'm not saying that, but that's what it felt like because it was so opposite of
Yeah.
what you would want to have happen every run play almost. And it was bonkers to just see that. And overall, again, I think drastic improvement. In certain places, I love what I saw from Sammy Brown and Wade Woodaz at times. Wade missed a couple of tackles that was frustrating, but at the end of the day, he was flying around. Ronan
Yeah.
Hannafin was
Yeah,
flying around,
Hannafin.
big
Well, and
hit.
Khalil Barnes goes out too. So
I
that was
know,
also a problem.
which is tough. But those guys flying around, Avion Terrell, fun to watch. I mean, that got physical. Like that was really cool. He had a mismatch. I mean, that one
Yeah.
touchdown that was on
He's
him.
given up
And that
how
got
many
6'8".
inches?
He's 6'8",
That guy's
280. Like,
huge.
what are we doing? Like, put someone else out there, please.
Yeah, seriously.
So other than that, though, KG, I mean, there were certain things. There were I'll say the frustrating things. I would have liked to see a little bit more creativity, and maybe Nuss just didn't allow you to do it with blitzes and
Mm.
twists and getting guys in the backfield. But the one drive where they ran a bubble screen 3 times in a row, and you did not adjust. It was just a numbers game. There were 3 receivers to the right. There were
Yes,
2 defenders, and
that
Nuss
was
was like,
crazy.
okay, I'll throw it again.
Herbstreit was
Why not?
laughing on the broadcast. Like, are
Was
they
he
going to
really?
do anything? Yeah.
That's what I would do, and, kudos to them. Kudos to that offensive coordinator. You didn't stop it, I'm going right back to it. You didn't stop it again, right back to it, and they did it a 4th or 3rd time. I'm getting confused on how many times they did it. I think it was a 4th time, and they tried to run a trick play. They tried to run
Mm.
like we'll call it, LSU special where they pump faked it and the guy like stock blocked and took off, but we played it really well, and that was that huge loss. It was like a 7-yard loss. I don't know
Yeah.
why he threw that.
That was
Um
like Nussmeier's one
but that
mistake.
could have been a dagger touchdown. But so kudos to those guys. But just some adjustment stuff like that was kind of frustrating to see. Um, I don't know. At the end of the day, maybe it was over optimistic. This is a huge game. This was a national championship caliber of game, and it's going to be fascinating to see where these two teams go from here. Is LSU this type of team or significantly better because Clemson was admirable? Does Clemson drastically improve? Is this similar to last year? And I kind of had this thought when you brought up, the running back position. a year ago, they played Georgia. They don't play Wesco or
That's
Moore in the
that's what
first
I'm
game.
thinking.
Is Troy the coming out party for Gideon Davidson? And then he's just the guy, and
I
that
don't know.
helped the rest of the year. Who knows? Maybe that's a bold prediction I'd like to get out there, and I think that could certainly happen. Or Adam just get the ball more. One of the two things happen.
You
Um,
gotta run the ball, though.
but you got to see improvement. You got to run the ball. You got to see improvement. Let's call quarterback runs better, like at different times, and just better plays. But I think just absolute frustration is probably what every Clemson fan is feeling right now. And at the end of the day, could Clemson run through the ACC? Maybe, but FSU looks really good. Miami, we'll see tonight. You guys will have already seen it probably by the time this comes out. But who knows? It's going to be fascinating to see. It really is.